Well, as the president prepares to declare an immigration-related national emergency, California's Attorney General said tonight his office is ready.
KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala spoke with the Attorney General Rob Bonta and shows us what he's eyeing specifically.
Mr. Attorney General, first, just what is your office doing right now in this moment after hearing the president's speech, but still sort of waiting to see the fine print on some of these immigration-related executive orders?
We're watching closely. We're monitoring the executive orders. We're watching what's in that stack that he is signing and looking for some of the things we've had flagged and that we were anticipating, including a potential executive order that undermines birthright citizenship and potentially militarizes immigration enforcement activities. We've been readying and preparing for months. We're ready, and all of our actions will be fully dependent on his. If there is a birthright citizenship action on day one, that is very concerning because that is a full frontal attack on the U.S. Constitution, a trampling of the defining document of our nation, and an attack on American citizens who have birthright citizenship. And so we'll see if that comes to pass. A president has authority, but it's limited. A president certainly cannot amend the U.S. Constitution unilaterally.
The CBP-1 app and the appointments getting canceled, for those who are trying to go through this process legally, I mean, is there any territory or ground there where the state is, I know you're saying you're preparing and looking at everything, but just anything on that?
Yeah, we're monitoring that one. Sometimes if it's a rulemaking issue, you need to go through the rulemaking process again to change a current rule. Nothing for us on that issue. Of course, it's heartbreaking when people are scheduling their appointments.
Has your office been maybe talking to Mexico about any of this, and especially with today's, Remain in Mexico policy, again, all these things that were expected, but any communication with that government? I
haven't personally, and we have a relationship, we have channels of communication with different levels of government in Mexico, including attorneys general and the leaders of different states. But this isn't something that we've talked about recently. We have open lines of communication and we'll engage as appropriate.
Your message to undocumented people.
I in my office have been thinking about you for months and what this moment might mean. I know there's a lot of fear, worry, anxiety, and concern. Please know that your Attorney General will use the full force of the law, the full authority of my office to defend your rights. You have rights. You have protections. There is a rule of law. It is important that it be followed. And if it is not, if that law is violated by the Trump administration, we will act. So I have your back. I'm here to protect you and your rights and the rule of law, and we'll be very active in the days, weeks, and months to come.
That was Ashley Zavala reporting. Legal experts note California does not have a lot of power to fight immigration policy.
In some instances, California may be successful in challenging federal government actions. But when it comes to the border control and immigration status of individuals, no, the idea here is it's a matter of federal law because we want the same laws applicable to all 50 of the states, not to have different immigration laws in Florida versus California versus Michigan or Texas.
We did ask Governor Newsom if he has spoken with the now president since the election. The governor's office telling us that has not happened yet.